Most people spend their lives running after success, running after love, running after wealth, running even after peace. But the strange thing is, the faster they run, the further life seems to slip away. Life is not something you chase, it is something you allow. When you stop running and simply stand still, you will see that life has been here all along, waiting for you to live it. Stop treating life like a race. A race always has winners and losers, but life is neither about winning nor losing. It is not a competition to be conquered, it is an experience to be lived. The moment you begin to run after it, you reduce life into a goalpost that keeps shifting further away. Life is not asking you to chase, it is asking you to open your eyes to what already is. When you slow down and stop running, you realize you were never behind, you were only blind to what was already in your hands. To live fully, you must learn the art of presence. When you eat, simply eat. When you walk, simply walk. When you breathe, simply breathe. Do not dilute life with distractions of past and future. Desire will always multiply. Fulfill one and 10 more will appear. But if you enter even a single moment with total attention, that moment can become infinite. The richness of life is not in the distance you cover, but in the depth with which you touch what is here now. Joy is never waiting at the finish line. It is not hiding behind the next achievement or the next possession. It is available only in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this very step you take. The problem is not that life withholds joy from you, but that you keep postponing it to the next milestone. When you stop running after a future that does not exist, joy begins to bloom in the ordinariness of the present. Chasing more will never end because more is a bottomless pit. More wealth, more recognition, more possessions, these may decorate your life but cannot fill the emptiness inside. Silence is richer than noise. When you stop cluttering your mind with the next thing to catch, life speaks in a language of clarity and simplicity. Even a sunset, even a child's laughter can hold the whole universe when you are not rushing past it. Fulfillment does not come from distance traveled, but from depth lived. Gratitude ends the chase. When you see the miracle of what is already with you, the endless running slows down. Living fully does not mean grabbing everything that comes your way, it means being available to life in every possible way. To people, to nature, to the vastness within yourself. Life does not need pursuit, it needs your presence. And when you are truly present, life flows through you with a grace that no chase can ever deliver. Stop treating life like a race. A race is about outpacing someone else, proving yourself at the cost of another. Life has no scoreboard, no finishing line, no opponent. Yet most people run as if they must arrive somewhere before time runs out. This blind chase robs them of the very essence of living. Life is not something you conquer, it is something you dissolve into. When you stop running after the illusion of arrival, you discover that you were never lacking, never behind, only unaware of what was already overflowing within you. Living fully means plunging into the immediacy of the present. When you eat, be absorbed in the taste, the texture, the sheer miracle of nourishment. When you walk, be aware of the ground, the rhythm of your steps, the breeze against your skin. Even your breath, the simplest act of existence, can reveal the infinity of life if you are utterly attentive. Desire multiplies endlessly, you feed one and 10 more arise. But if you are present to a single moment, you touch a depth that no chain of desires can ever grant. Joy is not waiting for you in the distance. It is not hidden behind wealth, recognition, or a new possession. It exists only now, in this breath, in this glance, in this very heartbeat. The tragedy is that people postpone joy, convincing themselves it will come with the next success, the next milestone, the next chapter. They never notice that the joy they seek is already woven into the fabric of the present, but they are too busy running past it. When the chase ends, joy unfolds naturally without effort, like fragrance from a flower. The hunger for more is a trap with no exit. More money, more power, more validation, all these are ornaments, not fulfillment. They may dazzle the eyes, but they do not satisfy the soul. In silence, stripped of this noise, you discover a richness deeper than any possession. Stillness reveals clarity. A child's laughter, a bird's call, the colors of a sunset, these simple moments contain the immensity of existence, but they open only to the one who is not rushing by. To live fully is not to extend your reach endlessly, but to deepen your touch on what is already here. Gratitude is the end of the chase. When you recognize the miracle of what you already hold, the restless pursuit drops away. Then life is no longer a burden to manage or a race to win, it becomes an overflowing abundance that moves through you. Presence is the only key. Once you are fully available to life, in your body, in your breath, in your awareness, life ceases to be something you run after. It becomes something that dances through you, vivid, free and unbound. Desire is like fire. The more you feed it, the hungrier it becomes. One fulfilled desire does not bring completion, it only gives birth to many more. People spend their lives moving from one longing to the next, convinced that the next achievement, the next possession or the next recognition will finally give them peace. But peace never arrives that way. The chase itself is the barrier. The more you run behind desire, the more restless you become, because desire is endless and has no final destination. What can bring completion is not desire, but experience. If you enter a single moment with absolute intensity, it has the power to fulfill you beyond all desires. Eating a simple meal with total presence can be more satisfying than a feast consumed with a distracted mind. Watching a sunset with complete attention can give you more joy than running after 100 achievements. Depth of experience is what brings richness, not the endless pursuit of more. When the mind is consumed by desire, it is always in the future. It robs you of what is happening here and now. You may be sitting with loved ones, yet the mind is already racing toward the next ambition. You may hold everything you once prayed for, yet the mind is already chasing what it does not have. This constant reaching creates a life where nothing is ever enough. Experience is stolen by the very hunger for experience. To break this cycle, you must learn to be fully present. It is not about rejecting desire, but about refusing to be enslaved by it. A desire may arise, let it. But instead of blindly running after it, return to the fullness of this moment. Return to your breath, to your senses, to the immediacy of life. When you live with such awareness, the grip of desire weakens and a deeper satisfaction takes root. Completion does not come from the outside, it comes from the way you live what is already here. Experience life as it unfolds without postponing it to some distant future, and you will discover that even the simplest moments carry the weight of eternity. Desire is endless, but experience is complete. When you choose experience over pursuit, life ceases to be a restless chase and becomes a profound unfolding, rich and overflowing in every breath you take. Joy does not wait at the finish line. It does not sit hidden behind the next success or reward. The idea that happiness will come once a certain milestone is reached is the greatest illusion of the human mind. You can gather wealth, power and recognition, yet still feel hollow. The finish line keeps moving, always one step ahead, mocking every effort to arrive. This is why people spend entire lives running without ever tasting true contentment. Joy belongs only to the present moment. It is alive in the breath you take right now, in the beat of your heart, in the small and ordinary things that unfold before you. But the restless mind, always obsessed with tomorrow, overlooks what is already here. It waits for perfect conditions for the world to arrange itself according to its demands, and in that waiting, the immediacy of life slips away unnoticed. The tragedy of chasing joy is that the very act of chasing pushes it further away. You cannot hunt joy like a prize, you can only uncover it by being fully alive to what is already happening. When you are immersed in this moment without calculation, without comparison, a natural sweetness arises that no external achievement can offer. It is not earned, it is revealed, because it was always present beneath the noise of your striving. The mind creates a story that something is missing, and in believing this story you begin to run. But nothing is missing. Every breath is complete in itself. Every moment is whole. What is absent is not joy but your presence. When you return to the immediacy of this step, this taste, this sight, joy ceases to be a distant dream and becomes a living reality. To realize this is to end the endless running. Joy is not a finish line to be crossed, but the very ground beneath your feet. It does not arrive with achievement, it flowers with awareness. The day you stop postponing and see that joy is inseparable from the present, life itself becomes a celebration. Then no matter where you are, no matter what you hold, you stand fulfilled. Achievement has been glorified to such an extent that people believe life's worth is measured only by what they conquer. But this constant drive to achieve creates tension, comparison, and an unending race that leaves the spirit exhausted. No matter how much you gather, the hunger for more does not stop because achievement is always outward, always dependent on something outside of you. In this chase, people forget the very experience of living, trading the richness of being for the shallow thrill of conquering. Alignment is a different dimension altogether. It is not about forcing life to bend to your will, but about becoming sensitive to its flow. When you align yourself, life does not feel like a battle to win, it feels like a current that carries you. You stop exhausting yourself in resistance and begin to move effortlessly because you are no longer against life, you are with it. This alignment is not weakness, it is the highest form of intelligence where action springs from clarity instead of compulsion. When a person is consumed by achievement, every step is burdened with expectation. Failure becomes unbearable, success becomes fleeting, and even in victory, a subtle emptiness remains. But when there is alignment, action itself is fulfilling. You work not for the outcome but because you are in tune with the moment. Whether it leads to success or failure no longer matters, because the very act of living in alignment is satisfying. The journey itself becomes complete without needing a prize at the end. The one who chases achievement often feels restless because the destination is always ahead. But the one who chooses alignment feels rooted because fulfillment is present in every step. Alignment is not about dropping ambition, it is about dropping blindness. It is to see clearly what is worth pursuing and what is not, to act without being enslaved by the hunger of the ego. Such a person can still create, build and contribute, but what they do is touched by grace instead of strain. Life was never meant to be conquered. The earth spins, the seasons change, the breath flows, not because of your achievement, but because of alignment with a greater rhythm. When you recognize this rhythm and attune yourself to it, life no longer feels like a struggle, it becomes a dance. In that dance, achievement is not abandoned, but it loses its tyranny. You no longer live for a result, you live because life itself is happening through you, fully, freely and without resistance. The hunger for more is endless. You may gather wealth, but the mind will immediately want greater wealth. You may rise in status, but soon it will demand recognition from a higher circle. You may fill your home with possessions, yet the craving for something new will not stop. This chase for more is like drinking salty water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. The mind convinces you that the next gain will finally bring satisfaction, but it only deepens the emptiness inside. When life is trapped in this cycle of more, no achievement feels enough. The moment you touch one goal, the joy fades and the chase begins again. People believe they are moving forward, but in truth, they are running in circles created by their own desires. The heart remains restless, not because life has denied them anything, but because the addiction to more has blinded them to what they already hold. The constant comparison with others fuels this fire, turning life into a marketplace of endless wanting. True richness does not come from addition, but from recognition. The ability to see the value in what you already have is what breaks the grip of more. A simple meal, when eaten with awareness, can nourish you more deeply than a feast consumed with greed. A single moment of genuine connection can outweigh all the empty gestures of status and success. When you stop running after more, you begin to experience the fullness of what is already here. The trap of more thrives on the illusion that joy lies in the future. But joy cannot exist anywhere except now. No matter how much you prepare, no matter how much you accumulate, joy will not arrive tomorrow. It must be lived in this moment. To realize this truth is to reclaim your freedom from the chase. The desire for more may still arise, but it no longer rules your existence. It becomes a passing wave, not the driver of your life. Living beyond the trap of more does not mean rejecting all wealth, status or possessions. It means they no longer define your sense of completion. You can still enjoy what comes, but without the compulsion to endlessly demand more. This freedom transforms the quality of life. You begin to live with clarity instead of hunger, with gratitude instead of complaint, with depth instead of distraction. And in that freedom, the restless heart finally knows peace. Noise has become the constant companion of modern life. The world is filled with endless chatter, the mind overflowing with thoughts, judgments, and memories that never seem to rest. People often mistake this noise for life itself, believing that being busy, being surrounded by sound, and being engaged in constant activity is the way to feel alive. But noise only scatters the mind, pulling it in 100 directions, leaving it tired and restless. Silence is not emptiness, it is the very ground from which clarity rises. When the noise settles, even for a moment, a different dimension of life reveals itself. Thoughts lose their grip, emotions calm down, and the mind begins to see with sharpness that noise can never offer. In silence, you begin to perceive the subtle rhythms of life, the fine details that constant distraction hides from you. Silence is not dull, it is intensely alive. When you sit in silence, the compulsion to chase and react starts to weaken. The voice in the head that endlessly comments, criticizes, and complains loses its authority. What remains is a vast space where you can breathe without pressure, where your presence becomes undeniable. In that space, life stops feeling like a burden to carry and begins to feel like a river flowing through you. You realize you do not need to control everything, you only need to be present. Noise feeds anxiety, but silence feeds strength. Noise makes the mind shallow, but silence makes it deep. When you allow silence into your life, it is like polishing a mirror. The distortions fade and reality reflects clearly. Decisions become simpler, relationships more genuine, and actions more conscious. Silence does not paralyze you, it empowers you because it roots you in the core of your being rather than in the chaos of thought. To embrace silence is to step out of the endless drama of the mind. It does not mean withdrawing from the world, but moving through it with a still center. In that stillness, noise no longer rules you and the constant chase loses its hold. You begin to live from clarity instead of confusion, from depth instead of distraction. And in that state, even the smallest moment becomes luminous, carrying a richness that no noise can ever give. Fulfillment is not hidden in distant places or grand achievements. People often imagine that meaning will come only after traveling the world, earning vast wealth, or gaining the approval of others. But no matter how far they go, the sense of incompleteness follows them like a shadow. Distance cannot give what depth alone can. A life lived on the surface, no matter how wide, will always feel hollow. Fulfillment comes when you enter deeply into what is here rather than endlessly seeking what is there. A simple moment holds within it the entire universe if you are willing to see. The sound of laughter shared with someone close, the warmth of the sun touching your face, the quiet beauty of a flower blooming, these are not small things. They are fragments of infinity, doorways into the boundless nature of life. Yet most people rush past them, blind in their pursuit of something larger. In reality, the so-called larger is nothing but a repetition of the smaller, missed 1,000 times before. Depth is born from attention. When you give yourself completely to one act, however ordinary, it transforms. Drinking water with full awareness can become a sacred act. Listening to someone without distraction can carry more power than the grandest speech. Living deeply does not require extraordinary circumstances, it requires you. Your presence is what turns the ordinary into extraordinary. Your awareness is what reveals the fullness hidden in plain sight. Chasing distance is exhausting because the horizon always shifts. The more you run, the further it appears. People believe they are advancing, but in truth, they are circling endlessly, chasing an illusion. Depth, on the other hand, is immediate. It does not demand a lifetime of striving, it asks only for your willingness to be here fully. When you allow depth, even a single day can feel richer than a lifetime spent chasing. Fulfillment is not about how far you go, but how deeply you live. The measure of life is not in the number of places you have seen or the titles you have collected, but in the intensity with which you have experienced what was right before you. Distance keeps you wandering, but depth brings you home. The one who learns to live with depth does not need to chase meaning, because meaning pours into every step, every breath, every heartbeat. Gratitude is the force that ends the restless chase. When the mind is always fixed on what is missing, life becomes a pursuit that never delivers. But the moment you turn your attention to what is already here, something shifts. The endless hunger begins to loosen its grip and a quiet contentment takes root. Gratitude is not about pretending that life is perfect, it is about recognizing the abundance that already surrounds you. Even the breath moving in and out of your body is a gift that millions are struggling for at this very moment. When gratitude enters, comparison loses its sting. You stop measuring your life against the illusions of others. The endless race of who has more, who has better, who is ahead begins to fade because your eyes are fixed on what is real in your own hands. You see the value in the smallest things that once seemed invisible. The food you eat, the shelter over your head, the presence of another human being, these are not small blessings. They are the foundations of life itself, and when you honor them, peace flows naturally. Gratitude also dissolves the poison of entitlement. The belief that you deserve everything you desire creates bitterness because life will never bend to such arrogance. But when you realize that nothing is truly owed to you, and yet so much has been given, a deep humility dawns. This humility is not weakness, it is strength, because it makes you receptive. Life can only pour into a vessel that is open, and gratitude keeps you open to its flow. The restless chase is fueled by blindness to the present. Gratitude opens the eyes. You begin to see that what you were seeking far away is already here in different forms. The joy you imagined in a distant future is hidden in this moment, waiting for your recognition. Gratitude slows down the racing mind, anchoring it in the now, where life actually happens. From this place, action is no longer a frantic chase, but a conscious response. To live with gratitude is to step out of scarcity and into abundance. It transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, not by changing what you have, but by changing how you see. The running stops, not because everything has been achieved, but because everything is already enough. Gratitude is the end of the chase and the beginning of true living, where every breath, every glance, every heartbeat becomes a reminder that life has already given more than you could ever earn. Availability is the essence of living fully. Most people are so preoccupied with their own thoughts, fears and ambitions that they are barely present to what is around them. They sit with others but are lost in their inner noise. They walk through nature but remain blind to its beauty. They live with themselves but never meet the depths of their own being. To be truly available means to put down the constant distractions and open yourself to the life that is already happening within and without. When you are available to people, relationships change their flavor. You no longer engage from a place of calculation or expectation, but from presence. To listen fully without waiting to reply is to give another human being the rarest gift. To see someone without judgment is to allow them the space to simply be. Availability brings authenticity into every connection because it removes the masks that constant chasing forces people to wear. Being available to nature is to realize you are not separate from it. Every breath you take is borrowed from the trees, every drop of water is part of the same cycle that sustains all living beings. When you walk with awareness through the natural world, it is no longer scenery, it becomes a living presence that you are inseparably part of. In this availability, reverence arises naturally, and life ceases to feel like a struggle against nature, but a dance with it. Availability to yourself is the most neglected of all. People may accumulate knowledge about the world, but they rarely sit in silence to meet what is within. To be available to yourself is not indulgence, it is the foundation of clarity. When you turn inward without distraction, you begin to see the patterns of your mind, the tides of your emotions, and the stillness beyond them. In this recognition, your actions gain depth and your life gains direction. Life is not asking you to chase it, it is asking you to be awake enough to receive it. When you are available in this way, nothing passes unnoticed. Every sound, every sight, every interaction becomes rich with meaning. You stop skimming across the surface of existence and begin to drink from its depths. This is the difference between merely surviving and truly living. Availability transforms life from a restless pursuit into a continuous unfolding where presence itself becomes fulfillment. To live fully is not about adding more to your journey. It is about removing the restless chase. When the running stops, a vastness opens up within you. Then life is not something you pursue, it is something that pours through you every moment. You don't have to chase life, you only have to live it completely, consciously, joyfully. That is the true freedom.